Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wentao Zhang and today I will be teaching you informal commands. In English, one would use a command when he or she wishes to order someone to do something. Now this is often referred to as the imperative form of a verb. Now there are two types of commands. There are affirmative commands and negative commands, right? Now affirmative commands tell you what to do. Negative commands tell you what not to do, right? So let's begin with the affirmative command since everyone likes to know what they are allowed to do, right? So when I say escribe tu la tarea, and the reason why I put the tu in parentheses is because it's omittable, right? You can take it out. The translation for this would be, here let me use a different color pen, right? You can say you, just literally putting the tu over here, right? Do the homework. Do the homework. Right? Or write the homework, whichever one you prefer, right? And for compra tu los libros, you're saying you, right? You're still directing the action towards you. You, buy the books. Now, remember that Spanish has both a formal and an informal style of speech, which is the tu/usted. You should have learned this back in Spanish 1. Now, formal speech is generally used to be polite or even express respect, right? So if you're talking to a Nobel laureate or the president or some rock star that you're having dinner with, or some artist that you meet at the Louvre or whatever, then you would use the formal speech, right? Or you can also use the informal or familiar speech, which is used among friends, co-workers, relatives, or children, right? So I doubt any of you address your parents as mother and father, or your grandparents as grandmother and grandfather, right? Now, similarly, if I were to tell a child in action, I would use the informal or familiar speech. Now, the informal tu commands are formed using the same ending as the usted form, when the usted form is in the present tense. Thus, if I were to tell a child to speak, I would say habla. And the reason why I would get this is because I would say hablar, right? You would take the infinitive, you would take out the AR, and add on the A. As I've mentioned before, for the informal commands, here I should probably label this as informal. For the informal, you are to use the usted conjugations, right? So it would be a, right, or e, right, depending on the verb. So if I were to say, if I were to tell a child to eat, I would say come, which is comer, right? So come equals comer, right? You gotta take out the er, you tack on the appropriate usted form for comer, right? Which would be e, right? So you say come. Now you should take note that the tu commands use the usted form, not the tu form, and this is kind of confusing because when you're talking to so the informal tu commands sound like they would use the tu form, but instead they really do use the usted form. So let me put that there, right? Usted. Now let's move on to negative commands. Negative informal commands use the tu form of such tense, right? So informal uses, affirmative uses usted. Now, negative commands, right, use the tu form. As such, if I were to tell a child not to speak, I would say no hablas, because it is hablar minus the AR, but instead of tacking on the A here, right, I would use the tu form, which is as. Similarly, if I were to tell a child not to eat something, then I would say no comes, since that's comer, right? No comer, I guess, or comer minus the ER plus the ES, right? Because that's the appropriate tu ending for, or the appropriate negative command ending for a child. And so basically, to summarize this entire lesson, remember for informal tu commands, then you would use the affirmative informal tu commands uses the present tense usted form, while the negative commands use the present tense to form. Okay, so remember, affirmative, usted. Negative, to. Okay? Once again, this is Wen Tao Zhang teaching informal commands for Spanish 2. Thank you for watching.